The rain had stopped, but the rest stop was still empty. Engines came and went. Doors slammed. No one noticed the little girl sitting on the curb hugging a backpack that looked heavier than she was. She didn't cry. She didn't wave for help. She just stared at the road. When the mafia boss stepped out of his car, he almost walked past her until she spoke barely above a whisper, "My dad forgot me." He froze. Not because of the words, but because of how calmly she said them. He knelt down. "What do you mean forgot?" She pointed to the highway. "He said he'd be back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes was yesterday." Her phone was dead. No food, no jacket, just a name written on her wrist already fading. The mafia boss stood up slowly. He didn't call the police. He didn't ask questions. He got back into his car, turned the engine, and drove 200 miles because something in that girl's eyes told him this wasn't an accident. And because some promises, once broken, can only be fixed by the kind of man willing to burn the road behind him. Stay with me until the end because what he discovered about the father who forgot her changed both of their lives forever. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Now, let's get started. Most people see a rest stop and think nothing of it. A place to stretch your legs, grab a coffee, use the bathroom. But for 8-year-old Emma Martinez, this concrete island off Highway 65 had become her entire world for the past 18 hours. The riverside rest area sat like a forgotten memory between two stretches of endless asphalt. Truckers knew it. Long-haul drivers used it. Families with crying kids stopped there when desperation outweighed convenience. But at 2:30 in the morning on a Tuesday, it was just Emma and the hum of distant traffic. She'd positioned herself on the curb near the parking lot entrance. Backpack clutched tight. Watching every set of headlights that swept past. Her father had said he'd be right back. Had to make a phone call. Important business. 5 minutes, maybe 10. That was yesterday afternoon. Vincent Castellano pulled his black Escalade into the rest stop at 2:37 in the morning. He wasn't supposed to be there. His route home from the meeting in Chicago should have taken him straight through without stopping. But the coffee had worn off 3 hours ago. And even a man who commanded respect from Boston to Miami needed to stay awake on the highway. Vincent was 48 years old. Built like a man who'd spent decades making sure people listened when he spoke. Silver threading through dark hair. Hands that had signed deals worth millions and settled disputes that courts couldn't touch. The kind of man who walked into rooms and changed the temperature just by being there. He stepped out of his car, stretched his back, and headed toward the vending machines. That's when he saw her. A kid sitting alone in the middle of nowhere at nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. His first instinct was to keep walking. Not his problem. Not his responsibility. He had his own family to worry about. His own world to manage. But something about the way she sat there, perfectly still, perfectly quiet, made him pause. "My dad forgot me." The words hit him like a punch to the chest. Not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. No tears, no panic, just a statement of fact delivered with the kind of resigned acceptance that number 8-year-old should ever possess. Vincent knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. "What do you mean, forgot?" Emma pointed toward the highway with a small finger. "He said he'd be back in 5 minutes. Had to make a phone call for work. I waited by the bathroom like he told me." She paused, looking down at her backpack. 5 minutes was yesterday. Vincent felt something cold settle in his stomach. He'd seen enough of the world to know when something was wrong, really wrong. "What's your name, kid?" "Emma. Emma Martinez." "Where's your mom, Emma?" "She died when I was 6. Cancer." The words came out matter of fact, like she'd been asked this question before, and had learned to answer without feeling it. Vincent studied the girl's face, tired eyes that had seen too much, clothes that were wrinkled from sleeping sitting up, a faded name written on her wrist in blue ink that was already starting to smear. "You been here all night?" Emma nodded. "And all day before that. I had some crackers in my backpack, but I ate them yesterday. My phone died this morning." Vincent stood up slowly, his mind racing. A father doesn't just forget his kid at a rest stop for 18 hours. That's not forgetting. That's something else entirely. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts, and made a call. It rang twice before a gravelly voice answered. "Vincent, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. This better be important. Say, Marco, I need you to run a name for me. Emma Martinez, 8 years old, father's name unknown, mother deceased. I need everything you can find in the next hour." "What's this about?" "Just do it." Vincent hung up and looked back at Emma. She was watching him with curious eyes, not afraid, just observant, like she was trying to figure out if he was someone she could trust. "Emma, when your dad dropped you off, did he seem upset, worried, different than normal?" She thought about it for a moment. "He was on the phone a lot, more than usual, and he kept looking in the mirrors while we were driving, like someone was following us." Vincent felt that cold feeling in his stomach spread. This wasn't abandonment. This was something far worse. Did he say anything about where he was going? Who he was calling? Just that it was work stuff. He always says that. Emma adjusted her grip on her backpack, but this time was different. He seemed scared. Vincent made another call. This time it was answered on the first ring. "Tony, I need you to check the traffic cameras on Highway 65 Riverside Rest Area yesterday afternoon between noon and 6 o'clock. I'm looking for a car that dropped off a kid and never came back." "Vincent, what are you mixed up in now? Just check the cameras." 20 minutes later, Vincent's phone buzzed with a text message. 3 photos attached. The first showed a blue sedan pulling into the rest stop. The second showed a man and a little girl getting out. The third showed the man getting back in the car alone and driving away. But there was something else in the photos. Something that made Vincent's blood run cold. In the background of the second photo, barely visible but unmistakable to someone who knew what to look for, was another car. Black sedan with tinted windows, parked far enough away to avoid notice but close enough to watch. Vincent had seen cars like that before. He knew what they meant. Emma's father hadn't forgotten her. He'd hidden her. Vincent stared at the photos on his phone, his jaw tightening with each passing second. The black sedan in the background wasn't random. It was positioned with military precision, angled for a quick exit, windows dark enough to hide faces, but clear enough to see targets. He'd been in this business long enough to recognize a surveillance operation when he saw one. Someone had been watching Emma's father. Watching and waiting. "Emma," Vincent said, keeping his voice gentle despite the storm building in his chest. "When your dad was on the phone, did you hear any names? Any words that seemed important?" She scrunched her face thinking hard. "He kept saying something about packages, and he mentioned Uncle Rico a lot. But Uncle Rico isn't really my uncle. He's just Dad's friend from work." Vincent's blood turned to ice. Rico Dell'Acqua. He knew that name. Everyone in their world knew that name. Rico wasn't just connected to organized crime. He was organized crime on the West Coast. The kind of man who made problems disappear permanently. If Emma's father was mixed up with Rico Dell'Acqua, then leaving her at this rest stop wasn't abandonment. It was protection. A desperate father's last attempt to keep his daughter away from something that could get her killed. His phone buzzed. Marco calling back. "Vincent, you're not going to like what I found." Tell me. David Martinez, 34, works as an accountant for Sunset Logistics. Except Sunset Logistics doesn't exist. It's a shell company. The real money flows through a network of businesses connected to the Delacqua family. Vincent felt the pieces clicking together like bullets sliding into a chamber. How deep is he? Deep enough to know where the bodies are buried. Literally. I'm looking at financial records that show him moving money for Rico for the past 3 years. Clean money in, dirty money out. He's their man. And now there's a federal investigation. FBI has been building a case against Rico for 18 months. Word is they flipped someone close to the operation. Someone with access to the books. Vincent looked at Emma, still sitting quietly on the curb, and the picture became crystal clear. Her father hadn't just been moving money for Rico Delacqua. He'd been keeping records. And when the heat got too close, when the choice came down to his daughter's life or his loyalty to the family, David Martinez had made the only choice a father could make. He'd run. But not before making sure Emma was somewhere Rico's people couldn't find her. Marco, I need you to dig deeper. Find out where David Martinez is now. Check hospitals, morgues, anywhere someone might dump a body. Vincent, what are you thinking? I'm thinking a man doesn't abandon his kid unless he's either dead or trying to keep her alive. Vincent ended the call and walked back to Emma. She looked up at him with those same tired eyes. But now he saw something else there. Trust. This little girl, abandoned and alone, had decided to trust him. Emma, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did your dad ever tell you about his work? Really tell you? Not just say it was boring office stuff? She was quiet for a long moment. Then nodded slowly. Last month he woke me up in the middle of the night. He was crying. He said he'd made some bad choices and that people might try to hurt us because of it. He made me promise that if anything ever happened to him, I should find a police officer and tell them my name and that my dad worked for Rico. The words hit Vincent like a freight train. David Martinez had prepared his daughter for this moment. He'd known it was coming. Did he give you anything else? Any papers? Any special instructions? Emma unzipped her backpack and pulled out a small notebook, the kind kids use for school. He told me to keep this safe and only give it to someone I really, really trusted. He said it was like insurance. Vincent took the notebook with hands that barely trembled. Inside were pages and pages of dates, amounts, account numbers, names, a complete record of Rico Delacqua's money laundering operation, written in David Martinez's careful handwriting. This wasn't just evidence. This was a death warrant. For David. For Emma. For anyone connected to either of them. And now Vincent was holding it. His phone rang again. Different number this time. Unknown caller. Yeah? You're making a mistake, Castellano. The voice was calm, professional, dangerous. Walk away from the girl. This doesn't concern you. Vincent felt his muscles tense. Who is this? Someone who knows you've got something that belongs to us. The girl has information we need. Information her father stole. The girl's 8 years old. The girl's father was a thief and a traitor. That makes her collateral damage unless you do the smart thing and step aside. Vincent looked at Emma, still sitting there with absolute faith that he would protect her. A child who'd lost her mother to cancer and her father to his own desperate choices. The kid who'd been sitting alone at a rest stop for 18 hours because her dad loved her enough to hide her from monsters. Here's what's going to happen, Vincent said, his voice dropping to a whisper that carried more menace than any shout. You're going to forget this girl exists. You're going to forget you ever heard the name Martinez. And if I even suspect you're looking for her, I'll make sure the only thing anyone remembers about you is how you disappeared. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, you're protecting a dead man's daughter, Castellano. That makes you a dead man, too. Get in line. Vincent hung up and immediately made another call. Sophia, it's me. I need a safe house. Clean, off the books, somewhere we can disappear for a few days. Vincent. What's going on? I'll explain later. Just set it up. He knelt down next to Emma again. Kid, we need to go. Right now. Some bad people are looking for you, but I promise you this. I'm going to keep you safe until we can figure out what happened to your dad. Emma looked up at him with eyes that held too much wisdom for her age. Are you one of the bad people, too? Vincent thought about that question. About the choices he'd made. The life he'd lived. The things he'd done to survive in a world that ate the weak and rewarded the ruthless. Yeah, kid. I probably am. But I'm the kind of bad person who keeps promises to little girls. Emma stood up, shouldering her backpack. My dad told me that sometimes the world is so broken that only broken people can fix it. Vincent felt something shift inside his chest. Something he hadn't felt in years. Your dad sounds like a smart man. He is. And he's not dead. I would know if he was dead. Vincent hoped she was right. But as they walked toward his Escalade, as he scanned the horizon for black sedans and listened for the sound of engines that didn't belong, he knew they were walking into a storm that would test every skill he'd learned in 20 years of surviving in the shadows. The only difference was this time, he wasn't just fighting for territory or money or respect. This time, he was fighting for something that mattered more than all of those things combined. A little girl's belief that someone would keep their promise to bring her father home. Home. They drove through the night in silence. Emma curled up in the passenger seat with Vincent's jacket draped over her like a blanket. The Escalade's headlights carved through darkness that seemed to swallow everything behind them. And Vincent kept checking his mirrors every few seconds. The safe house was 2 hours north, tucked away in the mountains where cell service died. And the only way in or out was a single winding road that Vincent's people had been watching for years. But getting there alive was the challenge. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just coordinates and a time. 1 hour from now. Vincent recognized the location immediately. The old grain elevator outside Millbrook. It was the kind of place where conversations happened that left only one person walking away. Emma. He said softly, not wanting to wake her if she was sleeping. You okay over there? She stirred, blinking in the dashboard light. Are we almost there? Close, but I need to make a stop first. Emma sat up straighter, suddenly alert. Is it about my dad? Vincent hesitated. The smart play was to take her straight to the safe house. Lock her away until this whole mess sorted itself out. But the notebook in his jacket pocket felt like it was burning a hole through the leather. Those pages held answers. And if David Martinez was still alive somewhere, those answers might be the only thing keeping him breathing. Maybe. But I need you to promise me something. When we get where we're going, you stay in the car. No matter what you see or hear, you keep your head down and you don't move until I come back. What if you don't come back? The question hit him harder than it should have. Then you take this. He handed her a second phone from his jacket. It's got one number programmed in it, my sister Sophia. You call her and you tell her Vincent sent you. She'll know what to do. Emma took the phone, turning it over in her small hands. Vincent? Yeah? My dad used to say that the scariest people in the world are the ones who keep their promises no matter what. He said those are the people who change everything. Vincent glanced over at her. Your dad really said that? He said lots of things. Most of them I didn't understand until now. The grain elevator appeared in their headlights, like a monument to forgotten industry. Concrete and rust reaching toward stars that seemed too far away to matter. Vincent pulled the Escalade behind a cluster of abandoned buildings, positioning it for a quick exit. Remember what I said. Stay down. Stay quiet. Emma nodded, sliding lower in her seat. Vincent checked his weapon, a habit so ingrained he barely noticed doing it anymore. Then he walked toward the elevator, his footsteps echoing off concrete that had been cracking for decades. 3 cars were already there. Black sedans arranged in a semicircle like predators surrounding prey. Vincent counted shadows moving in the darkness. At least 6 men, probably more. A voice called out from the shadows. Castellano, you're late. Traffic. Vincent stopped 20 feet from the cars, close enough to talk, far enough to run if things went sideways. A man stepped into the light. Vincent recognized him immediately. Marcus Delacroix, Rico's nephew. Mid-30s, expensive suit that couldn't hide the violence in his eyes. The kind of man who'd inherited power without earning wisdom. You've got something that belongs to us. I've got a scared kid who's been sitting alone for 18 hours. That's what I've got. Marcus smiled, but it was the kind of smile that preceded screaming. The kid's father stole from us, made copies of records that could put my uncle away for life. We want those records back. And the kid? The kid knows where they are. Her father would have told her something before he ran. Vincent felt ice forming in his veins. She's 8 years old. Old enough to remember what Daddy whispered before he abandoned her. He didn't abandon her. He protected her. Marcus's smile widened. From us. Smart man. Too bad it won't matter. Vincent took a step forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get in those cars and drive away. The kid stays with me. And if I see any of you again, I'll make sure your uncle learns exactly how you handled family business. The smile vanished from Marcus's face. You think Rico cares about protocol when millions are on the line? When federal agents are sniffing around our operations because some accountant grew a conscience? I think Rico cares about respect. And I think he'd be very interested to know that his nephew is threatening children in his name. Marcus pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and handed it to Vincent. Tell him yourself. Vincent took the phone. Rico Delacroix's voice came through like gravel mixed with honey. Vincent, I hear you're causing problems. I'm protecting a child. You're protecting evidence that could destroy everything I built. That notebook the girl's carrying contains 3 years of financial records, account numbers, transaction details, names of people who trusted us to keep them safe. Vincent felt the weight of understanding settle on his shoulders. This wasn't just about money laundering. Those records contain the names of legitimate businessmen, politicians, judges, people who'd used Rico's services to clean money they couldn't explain through normal channels. The kid doesn't know what she's carrying. Maybe not. But her father does. And David Martinez is going to trade those records for his daughter's life. Problem is, once those records disappear, we lose our insurance policy on some very powerful people. So you kill the messenger. I protect my family. Just like you're trying to protect that girl. Vincent closed his eyes. In his world there were rules. Codes that kept the violence from spilling over into places it didn't belong. But those codes meant nothing when survival was on the line. What do you want, Rico? I want the notebook. I want David Martinez. And I want this problem to disappear before the sun comes up. And the girl? Silence stretched across the line like a held breath. The girl is leverage. As long as her father has something I need, she stays alive. After that, Rico didn't need to finish the sentence. Vincent handed the phone back to Marcus. his mind racing through options that all led to the same dark place. In 6 hours the sun would rise. And unless he found a way to change the rules of this game, Emma Martinez would watch her father die before joining him. "You've got until dawn," Marcus said. "Bring us Martinez and the records or we come for the girl." "Your choice." The men melted back into the shadows. Car doors slamming like gunshots in the night. Vincent stood alone in the darkness listening to engines fade into the distance. When he got back to the Escalade, Emma was exactly where he'd left her. Curled up with his jacket. But her eyes were open. And he could tell she'd been crying. "I heard some of it," she whispered. "They want to hurt my dad." Vincent got in, started the engine, and pulled away from the grain elevator without saying anything. What could he say? That everything would be okay? That he'd find a way to save both her and her father? That promises made to 8-year-old girls were stronger than bullets and blood money? "Vincent?" "Yeah. My dad told me something else. The night he was crying. He said sometimes good people have to do terrible things to protect the people they love." Vincent looked at her in the rearview mirror. "What else did he say?" "He said that when the time came, I should trust the person who keeps their promises, even if they scare me, even if they do bad things, because the world is full of people who break promises, but the ones who keep them are worth everything." Vincent felt something shift inside his chest again. Something that reminded him why he'd walked away from his blood family all those years ago to find his real family on the streets. "Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to think really hard before you answer." She sat up straighter. "That notebook your dad gave you, did he tell you anything else about it? Any special instructions? Any place he wanted you to take it if something happened to him?" Emma was quiet for a long time. Then she unzipped her backpack and pulled out something Vincent hadn't seen before. A small key taped to the inside cover of the notebook. "He said if the bad people found us, I should take the notebook and this key to locker number 47, at Union Station in Kansas City. He said there would be a man waiting there who would know what to do." Vincent felt his pulse quicken. Union Station was 200 miles south, but more importantly, it was federal territory. FBI jurisdiction. If David Martinez had set up a meeting point at a federal building, it meant he wasn't just running from Rico del Agua. He was running toward the FBI. "Emma, your dad isn't just hiding from the bad people. He's trying to help the good people catch them." She nodded slowly. "I know. He told me he was going to fix his mistakes. Even if it meant we couldn't be together for a while." Vincent made a decision that went against every instinct he developed in 20 years of survival. He was going to drive straight into the teeth of a federal investigation carrying evidence that could destroy people on both sides of the law with a target on his back and a little girl's life in his hands. But as he pointed the Escalade south toward Kansas City, toward whatever was waiting in Locker 47, he realized something that surprised him. For the first time in years, he wasn't running from something. He was running toward the kind of promise that only broken people could keep. People could keep. The highway stretched before them like a black ribbon threading through the heart of America. Vincent kept the speedometer steady at 75. Fast enough to make time, but not fast enough to attract attention from state troopers who might ask questions he couldn't answer. Emma had fallen asleep again. The notebook clutched against her chest like a lifeline. Every few minutes, Vincent caught himself glancing at her in the rearview mirror. This small person who'd somehow become the center of a storm that could reshape everything. His phone buzzed. Text message from Sophia. "Feds are asking questions about you. Something big is happening. Be careful." Vincent deleted the message and kept driving. The pieces were falling into place now, forming a picture that made his blood run cold. David Martinez hadn't just been laundering money for Rico del Agua. He'd been documenting everything, building a case from the inside while pretending to be just another corrupt accountant. The man was either the bravest person Vincent had ever heard of or the most foolish. Maybe both. Kansas City appeared on the horizon like a constellation of lights scattered across the darkness. Union Station rose from the urban landscape like a cathedral of steel and glass, its clock tower piercing the night sky. Vincent had been there before, years ago for reasons he preferred not to remember. He pulled into the parking garage at 3:17 in the morning. The concrete structure was mostly empty. Just a few scattered cars belonging to late shift workers and insomniacs. Perfect cover for the kind of meeting that changed lives forever. Emma. He gently shook her shoulder. We're here. She opened her eyes immediately. Fully alert. No grogginess, no confusion. The kind of instant awareness that came from sleeping with one eye open, never knowing when danger might arrive. Is my dad here? I don't know yet. But we're going to find out. They walked through the station's main terminal, their footsteps echoing off marble floors that had witnessed a century of arrivals and departures. The building was magnificent even at this hour, with soaring ceilings and architectural details that spoke of an era when travel was still an adventure rather than an inconvenience. The locker area was tucked away on the lower level. A maze of numbered metal doors that held the secrets and forgotten belongings of countless travelers. Vincent found number 47 nestled between a pillar and a maintenance door. Exactly where someone would place it if they wanted privacy. Emma inserted the key with hands that barely trembled. The lock clicked open. Inside was a manila envelope thick with documents and a cell phone that immediately began ringing. Vincent looked at Emma. She nodded. He answered on the third ring. Castellano? The voice was tired, strained, but unmistakably alive. Martinez? Thank God. Is Emma okay? Is she safe? She's right here. She's been incredibly brave. Vincent heard something that might have been a sob of relief. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I had to leave her. But they were closing in and I couldn't risk them finding her. Where are you? FBI safe house about 10 miles from where you are. I've been working with them for 6 months. Building a case against Rico's entire operation. But something went wrong. Someone leaked that I was cooperating. They sent a kill team after us. Emma grabbed Vincent's arm. Can I talk to him, please? Vincent handed her the phone. Daddy? Baby girl. Oh God, baby girl, are you okay? I'm okay. Vincent kept me safe. He drove all night to bring me to you. Vincent stepped away to give them privacy, but not far enough that he couldn't scan the terminal for threats. Something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too empty for a major transportation hub, even at this hour. His instincts were screaming danger when he saw them. 3 men in dark suits moving through the terminal with the kind of purposeful stride that meant business. Not federal agents. Vincent could spot FBI from a mile away. These were Rico's people. They'd been followed. Vincent took the phone back from Emma. Martinez, we've got company. How fast can you get here? What kind of company? The kind that doesn't take prisoners. There's an FBI team 5 minutes out. Agent Sarachan is leading it. Tell her David sent you. 5 minutes might be 4 minutes too long. Vincent ended the call and grabbed Emma's hand. We need to move now. 3 years later, Vincent Castellano stood in the back of a federal courtroom watching Rico Del Acqua get sentenced to life without parole. The evidence David Martinez had gathered brought down an entire criminal empire. Emma sat in the front row next to her father wearing a dress her mother would have loved. Sometimes the most broken people keep the most important promises.